Welcome, Ceallaigh Smart, to the Empathy Edge podcast. I cannot wait to dive into this topic of how photography creates empathy, because I think this is such a great example of different modalities that we can leverage to strengthen our empathy and to also promote empathy to help us better understand people who are different from us. So, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is great. This is a topic that's really, really close to my heart and really at the heart of what we do in our organization. So I'm excited to dive in.
I love it. Okay. And I want to hear all about Print the Love, which is your nonprofit where you give away photos for free in different parts of the
Yes.
world where people don't have access to photography or photos. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to this work, and what is the meaning and purpose behind this work that you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really, really simple and yet very complex and magical. So, yes, we give away photos to people that literally have never had a photo of themselves. And that is possible in 2025 with our phones, that there are people that just don't have the resources, the access, the finances to have photos of their families. And this is more millions of people. So we give away to moms in hospitals when they just had a brand new baby and would never have that in a maternity ward. We go to hospice care to people who are passing away, but they want their family to have a photo. We
Hmm.
definitely go to schools where kids in many, many places would never have a school photo, or even just markets, family. I mean, the kids are my absolute favorite, but my second favorite are the older adults. They love, love, love getting a photo. And I have a couple stories on that. But how it started is I've always worked in nonprofits, and I was working with a group overseas in Rwanda, actually, as a logistics coordinator, kind of, doing travel, buses, right? Like for a speaking group. And while they were speaking, I didn't necessarily need to be in there. So I went out in the street and started taking photos. And this is definitely before phones, so I had my digital camera. I am not a photographer. I get that a lot. We can go into that. But in the back of my camera, when you kind of show the picture, turned it around, they're giggling. They're probably in third grade, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, look at you!" Right? You know how fun it is when you see pictures with you and your friend. And I said, "Do you have photos?" And they're like, "No, of course we don't." And I'm like, a light bulb was like, of course they don't. How would they even get that or even have money? If you have money at any point, as I've learned over the years, for any kind of photo, it's usually your first photos when you're 15. And that's across, I've been to Nepal, I've been to Bolivia, Cambodia.
Wow.
Culture is really your first photos around 15. So what about all those years of growing and not having something like that, even if you can finally get a portrait of some kind? So I
Yeah.
went back home from that trip in Rwanda. It was like, okay, nonprofit, somebody's dealing with this, right? Photos are so important to me personally, and I have access to them. They're
Yeah.
what I would grab when I go out of the house, right? There, if the house was on fire, or, that's just like such precious gifts,
Oh my gosh.
especially when people pass away, or just thinking about your kids, right? Like my dad has passed away, and that's what is such a treasure to me to have those photos with my dad.
Yeah.
And so I go back to the States. I know I'm going to go back to Rwanda with the group again. And I'm like, doesn't someone have a Polaroid camera? Don't they still do that? Like, right? Like, can I just give some photos out?
Yeah.
So I could find nobody doing this, absolutely nobody. There was like, this is before Google Translate. And so I think there was someone in Brazil that was doing something maybe like that. I could find some one-offs where people on blogs said, "Hey, I took some photos, went back into town, got them printed, and brought them to a small village or a rural area." And I said, "Okay, well, I feel like this is really important." So I did some crowdfunding and I raised money faster than I ever have. I raise a lot of money these days, but that was the fat. I was like, within a
Yeah.
day, saying, "Hey, my trip's paid for, but would you help me buy 1,000 pieces of film and a camera to give away to people that have never had this and see if it worked?" Like, I didn't even know if this worked. Yeah, question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to interrupt real quick. So are you providing the printed photos for them or are you giving them cameras?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. So we are just giving the photos. So
Okay.
it really started out as like, yeah, just a random act of kindness on the street, right? Like this isn't a
Yeah.
setup booth or anything like that.
It
I don't
it
ask your
reminds
name
me,
or
yeah,
anything.
it
Yeah.
reminds me of Humans of New York. I don't know if you've
Yes,
followed
yeah, yeah.
that
Right.
Instagram handle,
Yeah.
and I'll put a link for my listeners in the show notes where it's I don't know if it's a group of people or one person that go around New York capturing people and then capturing their stories and
And their
posting
stories.
that
Yes.
in on social. You're also making me think of another guest that I interviewed, Ashley Jones, who is the founder of
Okay.
Memento Foundation. And they take pictures for people who are in hospice or people
Yep.
who are dying, right? So their families can have photos of them and memories of them long after they're gone. And this came about from her own tragic loss of her baby, her 2 year old, to
Yes.
cancer,
Oh,
to an illness that she knew was going to happen when the child
yeah.
was born. And so I'll put a link to that episode in the show notes as well. But yeah, there's this powerful thing about photographs, not only in evoking our memories, but in helping us connect with people. I mean, the whole reason photojournalism is so popular is because a picture can say 1,000 words, right?
Exactly.
And
Right.
it's this idea of understanding not just a description of someone in another place or someone with a different lived experience or someone going through a difficulty. It's when you actually see it, you just see what's going on for them. It's a different part of our brain that seems to light up. And this is why it's so important when we're practicing empathy is it's not just about the people that we're interacting with in our bubble, but also like, are you constantly exercising that empathy muscle by looking at
Yes.
art, looking at photographs, looking at, and, moving art, documentaries or movies about people who are not like you. I'm curious
Mm.
though, a lot of what that work is about helping these families or people who don't have access to photography. So they're thinking less about empathy for their family members or whatever. What does it do for them to have those pictures? How does it
Right.
transform what their experience is with their own family or their understanding of their relationships with the people that you're taking pictures of? I've never experienced being in a world where I haven't seen a picture of my family or of
Right.
me or of whatever.
I
So
know.
what does it do for them? What is the transformation you see for them?
So there's a couple things at play here. Not that they don't know what photos are, and
Right.
honestly, photo is photo in pretty much every single language, which is fascinating.
Uh-huh.
So they all know what that is. But when you come to a place and there is a connection between you as people creating something that was not there before, right? I come to you, Maria, and take your photo and there's something that wasn't there because I'm the photographer and now there's a picture of you. But I think the key piece of what we do is that I am very only giving one copy. So if that makes sense. So we don't keep any copies. So the cameras that we use only print out one, just like a Polaroid. There's a lot of products out there that will keep a digital copy, but I work exclusively with Fuji and they have a product that I just love and I've always loved that it's just the one copy. So when I say, if you go to a community and you say, "Can I give you a photo?" They said, "No. I don't know you. What are you doing? Can I give you a photo of just you, no copies?" What? They've never had that. It's honoring and being seen in the dignity of who they are. Oh, well, can I go brush my hair? Can I go get my mom? Can I go get my brother? Yes. So they know the intrinsic value of holding. There's been so many studies about even just like memory care, the feelings of family when you watch or remember who, even just immediately, like we just took this photo and you immediately feel happy,
Yeah.
right? And it's coming from a stranger. So there's a moment of being seen by a stranger without, I'm not taking anything. I'm not going to go put it on my Facebook. I don't have it. I'm not going to go do anything. It's 100% for you. And I think that's a key element of this empathy piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it really, understanding each
Mm-hmm.
other. feel understood. Oh, they see me and see that I, am pretty enough or handsome enough or want a photo, and that there's understanding that builds empathy, that builds towards, we say peace work, honestly, because it builds
Hmm.
towards a common good of understanding each other.
Hmm.
Brene Brown, who you probably love like me, has a quote that never underestimate the power of being seen.
Hmm.
And most people in these kinds of communities aren't seen in this
Hmm.
way that says you deserve a photo of just you because you
Right.
look, it doesn't matter. You're just
Yeah.
great in this moment. There's nothing else more important. And here's a perfect photo for you and your mom and your baby and your grandma. And,
Oh, I
you
love
know,
that.
so it's really, I think, the ethical piece of saying we are not taking anything. We don't ask names. We don't ask, is this your first photo or your eighth photo, or
Yeah.
how old are you? Now, some of those things come out naturally because they want to
They want
share,
to share. Right. They're
but
not being
that's
asked to
not,
share. Right.
yeah, and that's not typical. I work in the NGO space. I have for a long time, and always asking names and how old are you and how many times have you used this and
Yeah.
write for grants and funds. And this is really, as much as I can tell or try, altruistic. I'll saying
Yeah.
this is 100% for you, and it's not about me.
I love that so much. Can you, I mean, I know I've tried to describe it, but I'm wondering if you have a different way to describe it.
Yeah.
How photography actually creates empathy? Is it just what I spoke about, which is that you're seeing someone in their particular situation, and it's like, why is it different than just describing it or reading about it from the work that you do? How do you think it contributes to empathy?
Yeah, so I think it's the creation of something together that then there's a shared joy in looking at it together
Mm-hmm.
and an understanding in that way, really the light. So it does seem silly, like you and me are sitting here together in
Mm-hmm.
person, and I take a picture of you, and your light and image comes out, and we're both looking at it and saying it's so great. And there's just a shared empathy for the other person
Right.
in a magical way. I can't tell you how it also transforms a hospital room. Like we'll go to waiting rooms, and everyone, not that it's depressing, but people are just
They're anxious. Yeah,
anxious
they're on
life. Yeah,
edge.
who knows why they're there? They're
Right.
anything, good, bad. You start passing out photos, it transforms the room. Look at mine. Look at mine. Oh, hi, I'm this, and right. So it's the connecting piece that
Mm-hmm.
builds empathy.
Mm.
So there's a little bit more of a personal story for me too in this whole journey. So it wasn't just I went to Rwanda with work and discovered this and they saw a need like, hey, people also need food and water, and those are extremely important. And also,
Mm-hmm.
what about a photo, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not, some people say that's all you do. And I say, yes, it's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
I do have a background in art therapy, so knowing how seeing yourself and pieces of yourself out in the world really help you grow and heal and again
Mm-hmm.
feel connected, like I am
Mm-hmm.
here on earth and it matters that
Right.
I'm here.
Right.
So the art piece of that. But during that time, I was in an extremely abusive relationship, where I was being told at home, you're not pretty, you're not smart. There was another woman. She's going to be the mom to your kids.
Oh
She's going to
my.
take, you are nothing, essentially, right? You
Wow.
are the worst of the worst. And this came on more suddenly. This is not a this is not something you just like fall into a relationship and you're like, oh, this is great, right? Like this is
Yeah.
after 10 years, and chaos came. And when I had an opportunity to leave the country, most people would be like, oh, you have little kids and you're in a figuring out an abusive marriage if you should leave. And
Mm-hmm.
sounds like a great idea. And in hindsight, it does look weird, but it was the first time I didn't have a panic attack when I started to travel internationally like that
Mm-hmm.
because I had gone so far. And really, it was so simple that it almost, I don't think I would have really discovered this whole process any other way.
Hmm.
I don't want to live in a world where at home I'm told how terrible or ugly or not smart or boring or that I'm not a good mom. I want to
Hmm.
live in a world where a stranger says, "You are beautiful today, no matter what, and here's a memory for you and your family to keep for a long time to bring you joy and
Yeah.
celebrate life's moments." And if you or anyone in the audience has been through something, did develop
Hmm.
PTSD where I could really not do much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'd sit at my desk in my office and stare at the wall for 8 hours a day and then get up and try to grocery shop. And I couldn't,
Yeah.
you were frozen and trapped inside
Hmm.
yourself in those moments. And I said, well, maybe I can give one photo, right? Like, I think if I had tried to develop this program now, I would have overcomplicated everything.
Yeah.
I would have been like, there needs to be all these programs and these kinds of things. But really, it's been in the simplicity and keeping it that simple, saying,
Hmm.
you matter. I
Yeah.
see you. Here is a one way to love you. There's so many ways to love people in the world.
Right.
Here's
Right.
one way I want to love you and honor you and give you a gift that I hope you'll keep for your rest of your life.
Hmm.
Um, and me, that built empathy for me, for others, to get outside my bubble, to heal by helping
Hmm.
others.
Heal by
And
helping, for
then,
sure.
yeah, right. And then inviting other people to do that with me, to come on trips with me.
Hmm.
Um, and seeing people, it's the photos, but it's also the way in which we do business, I say.
Hmm. Hmm.
We only work with local people. And we've heard time and time again, like drivers will get to know and they're like, we've never seen anyone do this stuff. And we're like, do you want a camera? And they start doing it with us.
How great.
And we'll ask them about their lives. Like, tell us
Hmm.
about, because we're driving around town
Hmm.
and they're like, I've been driving for 20 years and no one's ever asked me about my family.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was one instance in El Salvador. He said, "Do you want to come over and make tortillas with my mom? She makes really good ones." Yes, we
Yes.
do.
But
That
that's
was
how
one of
we
the
create,
best.
yeah, that's how we
Yes,
create those
the
connections. And
connections, because he saw us see regular people in a
mhm,
new way that it built trust with
yeah.
us,
Yeah.
that then built empathy for
Hmm.
him and his family, but also him learning about us and it going both
Right.
ways.
Well, and so thank you for sharing that very personal story. And I
Yes,
really believe, I've done a few episodes on this show where we talk about the power of giving back that not only helps people heal, but also can help you feel more committed and engaged to your job and to the
Mhm.
people you work with. Like that ability to, we talk about team bonding all the time and all these silly things that companies try to do. And I interviewed this one woman, Terry Schmidt, and I will link to her in the show notes, where her company helps teams bond through community service and
Yes.
and
Oh, absolutely.
combines that
Yes.
with professional development. But there's an aspect, there's data, and I know she cited it in the interview that we had, so I'm going to put a link to it, but about how you learn better and you connect better for some reason when you're in acts of service with someone
Yeah.
else. There's
Oh, I
something
love that.
magical that happens around that. So I can tell that this is what, is at the crux of the work that you do.
Yeah.
And I want to just shift a little bit because you started bringing it up about the fact that you were in Rwanda and this was sort of just part of what you were doing. But how does international travel and serving under-resourced communities build empathy in your experience? What has been the power of that? What has been most surprising for you about that? And I know that we'll talk about this in a second towards the end, but you offer through your nonprofit, you offer trip opportunities to anyone who wants to accompany you in different places that you go to in the world to do
Yeah.
the picture taking. So they get to
Yeah.
experience these different communities. But specifically, how has that helped you build empathy? Was there something surprising that you learned about yourself or about these other cultures in going to serve them and help their communities as well?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think You, and there's it's not anyone's fault, but you've watched the news and you just think that everyone's terrible everywhere.
Yeah.
And I
Well, that's
think
what sells,
travel,
right? That's what people click on,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
And it's
like
not
this
the
is,
reality of a lot of people, right?
and I've traveled to 20 over 25 countries and gone to the places where the tourists don't want to go. I always
Hmm.
go to the places, I tell the drivers, take us to where you wouldn't take other people, right?
Hmm.
And those people are just like you and me. They
Hmm.
just have less money or they live in a different place. But, and that seeing people just like you trying to figure out the world, just how can you not have empathy when you have shared experiences and you're able to share that? Now, where Print the Love comes into place is usually you can't just show up at someone's home or school and just be like, hey, do you want to have a conversation about being a human with me? Like that usually isn't, there's
Yeah.
probably people out there that would do that, but it's weird. It just it doesn't work. Whereas if you're bringing something of a gift that's not trivial, like it's not a trivial, even though the photo itself only costs a couple dollars,
Right.
there's so much more meaning packed into that. And
Hmm.
so that's what's opening the door. It's really the bridge to the discussions for empathy.
Hmm.
And, they hear terrible things about Americans or white people, or,
Hmm.
we can talk about all of those things because there's been a lot of damage done. There's
Hmm.
reasons for that. And so to be able to share, I'm just a mom too, and this is what I'm hoping for my kids, and my ex-husband, didn't treat me well either, right? And able to
Hmm.
share and building empathy on their side as well, and
Hmm.
have that shared connection, and then leave as friends.
Hmm.
I don't know how you couldn't leave those without being changed,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
and really flipping the narrative that you read so much. Now, are there bad eggs? Yes, but they're everywhere. They're in my
Yeah.
neighborhood, they're in your neighborhood.
Yep.
And but 99% of the people I've met all over, and I've met hundreds, I've worked with hundreds of NGOs and schools,
Hmm.
are really, really good people.
Hmm.
I think something that's unique also about Print the Love is we sort of do, there's amazing programs out there where you can spend, a month with kids building a school or building homes in Guatemala or doing specific, healthcare services or something, and those are really
Hmm.
great. What we do is really like a tour of social services, I almost
Hmm.
say. And that's been so popular that we've had actually multiple people move to the country that they visited with Print the Love, which is
Wow.
crazy. I know, because they fall in love with it. Because
Yeah.
you visit a school and we always talk to the principal and the teachers, and they tell us all about their lives and their goals. And then we go to a nursing home and they say, these are the programs. So all these social services, like places, we go to a
Hmm.
hospital and we see the new moms, or the
Hmm.
nurses talk to us about their lives, right? So you
Hmm.
see the local fabric of lives and all these little elements of people doing good, right?
Hmm.
Like if each pocket of doing good, and we get
Yeah.
to just listen to all the stories, and then an orphanage and how they operate, and they're all eager to share with us their
Hmm.
programs. And so in that way you're learning about the little society that I don't know
Yeah.
anywhere else, unless you lived there, or
Yeah.
maybe not even live there, how you would interact with that many people and see the goodness in the way
Yes.
that we do.
Well, and I mean, so many things are sparking. I'm going in a billion directions in my mind, but you're bringing up for me yet another guest that I spoke to who's a very successful executive. He was a former executive at Salesforce, like
Oh,
reporting to
sure.
the
Yeah.
CEO. His name is Woodson Martin, and I did an episode with him because his family is very committed to philanthropy. He would always
Sure. Yeah.
take trips down to the border towns in the US to help people who were just released from immigration detention, help them
Yeah.
find their way to wherever they needed to go. And
Yes.
that small grassroots organization eventually became a full-fledged nonprofit. But it was such an important part of his life and his identity and for his kids and his wife, and to just do this work with all the blessings they'd been given in the world.
Yeah.
And then he was able to bring it back to his company to the point where they were bringing groups of people from Salesforce down to help people that were interested. They would bring teams of people and they were getting some funding from their company because it impacted the way he led. It impacted the way he
Right.
lived to
Yeah.
have these experiences. And one of the questions I asked him, and I hope people will go back and check the link to go to this interview, was, is it hard for you to sort of to have for reentry? Like you go to this environment where
Mm,
you're meeting these people who are, at the lowest point in their lives, they're scared, they're, fleeing violence, they're, not getting the best treatment when they come here. And then you go back to your, very cushy executive tech
mm,
life in the Bay Area. And he did share, sometimes it is hard, but when you realize that you're doing the good that you're doing, it just makes you want to go back and do more because you do have the resources. And it's about not feeling guilty. It's about, we had a whole conversation about it's about using the resources and the blessings that you have to do good for other people. And I
yeah.
thought, gosh, that translates to how he leads his team at work. That
Mm,
translates to how he shows up to be a successful leader and to contribute to his organization. Like it's all connected. And I
yeah.
find that people that can, you don't have to go join the Peace Corps and give up everything
Right.
to do good in the
Right.
world. You can still,
Yes.
if being a CEO in tech is your dream, or if being a corporate lawyer is your dream, or if you're being a doctor or, whatever, an accountant, you can still go after that, but you can also make space in your life to be of service. And I think, if I can be really vulnerable with you, like this is the thing, I was like that before I got married and had a child. I volunteered a lot more. I did, and I haven't really set that example for my son as well as I'd hoped. And
Sure.
I'm working on that because I want him to see that this is just normal. We live our lives and we take our blessings and we share that with people that don't have as much. And I know we're completely going off the rails from like
Yeah, no,
photography and
but this
empathy,
it's
but
all related.
you made me
Absolutely.
think about this. And so I want to ask you one other question. Well, two other questions. One is more tactical, so we don't
Sure.
have to spend too much time on it. But what is the purpose behind only giving them one copy? Because what if something happens to it? What if they want to give copies to relatives that aren't near them? Like, what's the purpose of doing that?
Yeah, so the one copy thing is really just space. So we can
Mm,
only carry so much film.
mm.
We have a wonderful partnership with Ultra Pro. They just send us anything we want. We love it. But when I first started doing this, I would handle, a little 2-year-old a photo and then they'd start like crumpling it. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I got to get them some frames or something. So we
yeah.
essentially give them, it's like a baseball card holder that's very
Oh yeah,
firm
yeah.
and it protects from UV and dust and all those kinds of
Okay.
things. And so, but we can only carry so much film, and we go to so many communities where sometimes we have to put away the cameras, to be honest, because everyone comes out and
Yeah,
grandmas and grandpas and wheelchairs and babies, and we only can carry so much, especially in rural
yeah,
areas.
yeah.
So it's really just everyone gets one.
Right,
But if there's like a group, the little kids always want their own photo, but the
right.
teenagers always want group. So
Uh-huh.
if there's 6 of them in a group, they have to sit there 6 times while we each, we do six
Yeah,
of the exact same, and then each
yeah.
of them get one.
Have you ever thought
Yeah.
about, do any of them have access to get something in a digital format, or do most of these
Yeah, I mean, for
places
sure. We
not?
can send, and sometimes we do. Like
Oh, okay.
we have but it's really based on a permission, consent. It's very important to us for all of
Hmm.
that. So the people that travel on the trips, some are photographers, very good ones, and some are
Hmm.
people like me who are humanitarians.
Yeah.
And they will say, can I take your picture on my phone and I will send it to you on WhatsApp or
Uh-huh.
something like that so that
Yeah.
you have a digital copy. And then there's an agreement with them, and I make sure that, if they don't speak the language, there's a lot of
Yes.
nuances
Yes.
with that. And if they say that's okay, we
Hmm.
have a strict rule that no one on our trips would sell any photos or use them in any kind of
Hmm.
way without just, well, no selling,
Of
but
course.
they
Yeah.
need permission from every single person.
Right. No one's
Whereas if we're
posting
just,
their photos on their own social media feeds
yes,
and things like
but
that.
we do have marketing photos, as you can see on our website,
Of
right? So
course. Yeah.
it is a little bit of a dance for us, but there's
Hmm.
many places we go where we literally put all of our other cameras away and
Hmm.
we only
Use the
use the,
ones.
yeah,
So is that what this actually is a perfect lead into the second question I had
yeah,
is that what you mean by ethical photography?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right.
We are not taking anything. We are 100% giving to them. They own it. We take the photo and then
Hmm.
we give it to them. And so
Hmm.
they own the image. It is theirs to keep and do whatever they want with it.
Hmm.
So that's what's really ethical about it, that they're the owner of their own
Hmm.
image. But there's lots of people that tell us what they're going to do with their photo, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
give this to my mom. We have
Right.
so many men really that are working, they're guards, or we say, do you want a photo? Yes, I want to give it to my son.
Hmm.
We also had a wonderful experience at a blind school. They
Uh-huh.
heard we were coming into town and they invited us. And I was like, wow, we've never been invited to a blind school.
Yeah.
And so we got there and I asked the teachers, why do they want us? And it's like a boarding school where then they go home on the weekends, but they stay
Hmm.
there during the week. And
Yeah.
they said they really wanted something for their family, like a tactile thing of them that they know is of them that they can give to their
Even if
family
they
when they
can't
go,
see it.
even if they can't see it,
Oh, that's
but that they can
beautiful.
hold it in their hand and they
Yeah.
know that it's a image of them.
Oh.
They loved it. It was one of the most magical places. That was in Nepal that we
Uh-huh.
went. So even just the physicality
Hmm.
of the piece of paper is something,
Yeah.
just like a book. Like I like to read books. Yes, you
Uh-huh.
can do stuff online, but it's
Yeah.
something about that or something about holding that
Well,
piece of paper.
there's also because I was a huge photographer, like amateur photographer, not professional
Yeah, that's
photographer,
great.
but
Yeah.
when the SLR cameras first came out and you could look like you were a professional photographer, it was great. But
Yes.
I have so many scrapbooks because I was always printing out pictures and making like scrapbooks from trips that I took or things like that.
Yeah.
And when we went to digital photography, now my thousands of pictures are on my phone and I still print out some pictures that I have or that I framed. There is nothing like being able to go back to my college photo
Mm,
album and flip through actual photos, right? They're not the best quality because it
yes.
was the 90s, right? But like but to be able to do that, that is something that some people who are like, why would you print it? Don't understand. There's something about
Yeah.
you. I mean, yes, you flick through your phone. I don't know, it's just not the same.
It's the tactile. Yeah.
And I also just want to share this funny story, just talking about photos and how they impact us emotionally and even like whatever endorphins or whatever, neurotransmitters they release in our brain. I was just at an event last night with a group of other moms. It was like a Boy Scout event for our sons. And we were just talking about the age they're at now and raising them and how it's, they're getting all sassy and whatever. And we were joking about how we look back at their baby pictures, which are on our phones, just to
Right. Yeah.
remind ourselves of how like cute they were. And we started showing each other the photos of our kids when they were babies or like 2 or 3. And just the connection between us as moms even though they were digital, in sharing those photos, because we
Yeah.
didn't
It's
know
the
each other
same.
back then,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
we're brand new to each other. And just being able to like see this one mom's picture of her kid with his little rosy cheeks when his little chubby legs and whatever, and his little, it actually brought us closer to share those photos. So I get
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying about how it builds connection and how it builds empathy. So before we wrap up, I don't want to let this go because I mentioned it before. This
Yeah.
idea of the trips that you take people on. So I'm going to give folks the URL. It's
Yes.
printthelove.org/trips. Can you
Yes.
explain a little bit more about that? Because I think that that would be something totally accessible to many of the business professionals and leaders that listen to this podcast as a way that they can have an experience like this and give back without having to quit their jobs and sell all their possessions and go,
Yeah.
travel the world.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the trips?
Yes. So we've traveled to over 27 countries. So far, we've given away over 18,000 photos. And so we travel in small groups. It's very important to me that we be seven or less
Mhm.
because it we're not a tour group. We're not going to be on a bus. We have to be mobile. But like I mentioned before, it really is being able to see the local community in a different way than really any other organization I've seen.
Hmm.
You don't need to be a photographer. We just say you need to be kind. And I mean, the best people sign up for this. I mean,
Yeah.
amazing people like are
Yeah.
attracted to doing
Of
this work.
course. Yeah.
But we also, so each
And
day
how
looks
long are the
different.
trips? Yeah, how long
Oh,
are they
so
usually?
sometimes most of them on this continent are 7 days. But if we have to go to Africa or Asia and really travel, it takes you 24, 48 hours, then we usually stay for 12 to 14 days
Okay.
just because so then it's worth it.
Yeah.
We do, I did say earlier, we try to avoid tourist spots. But if we're going somewhere, we usually pick one thing that we're gonna do. Like when we went to Zimbabwe, we went to the Victoria Falls, right? To
Yeah.
see one of the seven wonders of the world. We went to Angkor Wat when we went to Cambodia.
Hmm.
We're going to the Galapagos Islands when we go to Ecuador, right? So
Wow. So you
there
do
is
something
that
touristy
element.
and fun in there.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do
Okay.
something. Just because also land and environment is so important to so many of the cultures that we visit that we really want to honor that. And usually
Mhm.
those elements, doing even a stuff, we went to the Serengeti when we went to Tanzania, like that is a part of the life there as well. So we want to be a part of that. So it is a nuanced trip. It's very much of an adventure. This is not a 9 a.m. this, 10 a.m. this.
Yeah.
We went to a school, the teachers didn't show up. We're going to pivot. We went to the hospital. Someone's going to walk us around. So we go to a different clinic and it's the most amazing. It's
Yeah.
one
You
of
have to be
those,
flexible. Yeah.
it's a flexible, but it's so much joy. I had once a woman who worked in a lot of medical missions,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, well, why you want to be with us? Why are you thinking of coming with us? And she said, well, I work in NICU, and it's always crying, and everything you do is about joy. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
that's so true because everywhere we go, there's not one place we've gone and that you
Hmm.
leave there being like, oh, that sucked.
Hmm. Yeah.
Everywhere you go is joy.
Do
So
you have a translator on the trip with you
oh
or
yeah,
a local
absolutely. Yes, yes,
translator?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Oh yeah, we wouldn't do it
I
without.
was going to say, yeah, because how do you
Absolutely.
communicate with them? Well,
Or
that's
multiple. It depends. Multiple. It's sometimes depending on if we're going to a larger school or
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah, yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, I, of course, will have all the links in the show notes, including the one to the
Oh,
trips, which
thank
I'm
you
also
so
going to
much.
check out for myself and my son.
Yes.
But this has been such a great conversation. It's a little different from what we usually have on the podcast, and I'm so thankful for it because I think that's really, what we're talking about is we're talking about helping professionals be their whole human selves at
Mm,
work. And part of that is making sure that we're delivering acts of service, but also just understanding the power of photography to build empathy and how it can be a bridge to creating those empathetic connections is just so wonderful. So thank you for sharing
thank
your
you.
organization, your personal story. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
vulnerable with us
Yes,
and for
thank you.
sharing these wonderful opportunities. We are going to have all the links to these and all the things we mentioned as we talked in the show notes. But for anyone that's exercising while they're listening to us right now, can you tell us what the best place is to find out more information?
So yeah, printthelove.org is the best place to just find everything. I know we talked about trips, but we also have a program where you can sign up to get a camera and borrow it if you're going to work with another organization, and then you just send us back the camera. It's free. If you want to participate in a different way, that's
Yeah.
maybe a less intense as a trip. So
Then a
that's
trip.
another
I love
option
it.
as well.
Okay.
So thank you very much for having me. This is great. Use photography to learn about each other. Share, right? Like bring out your phone and share with others and see the world through their eyes. That's
Yeah.
that's a really good point. So, all
Love
right.
it.
Thank you very
Thank you for
much.
that final gem. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Empathy Edge podcast. If you like what you heard, you know what to do. Please rate, review, and share it with a friend or a colleague. And until next time, please remember that cash flow, creativity, and compassion are not mutually exclusive. Take care and be kind.